Hello, fellow adventurers. Odds are you're just discovering this channel because, well, most of my viewers are first timers. We do world building here, but today we're going to do more teaching than world building. There are so many people playing Dungeons and Dragons. They're just discovering this new game. Maybe you are too. There's more than ever before, which means that we need more DMs than ever before. The learning curve for players is significant enough. There's a lot of things, but for being a DM, there's a whole raft of skills, and nobody's going to start with them all. I've been running games for decades now. I'm still learning, picking up new techniques, trying to focus on my weaknesses, picking up some things that I've never really focused on before, and still play up to your strong points. Anyway, uh, this video is mostly for brand new DMs who are already pretty solid players. So good concept of the game, just not necessarily how to run it, how to make it happen. For the most part, we're talking about the 2024 rule set, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but I mean, really, these are concepts that can work with almost any RPG. And there are a lot of different ways to play these games. So I will have my own perspective. Just because you watch this video doesn't mean you shouldn't watch other people's videos. I do think that I usually have something unique to contribute. So does everybody else. I run almost exclusively homebrew. Not the rules, but the settings. My games are very open world, meaning that it's kind of up to my players to find a purpose. I'll throw stuff at them until they decide what they want to go with. It's not boring. It's not a boring world to do this kind of thing, even though you don't have a big old plot sitting out in front of you. It's more event based and letting the players interact when and how they want to. But I'll explain more about that kind of stuff in more videos in this series as we move forward. Uh, Today, our topic is Session 0. We're going to talk about how you might prepare for it and how you might run it. And doing this, we're going to keep in mind a setting that I developed in a previous video, the island of Jimmerit Hedigo. That is a medium-sized island that we recently did a world-building episode on. If you haven't watched it, you don't have to, but if you want to, I'll wait. Oh, you're done already. All right. Okay. Welcome back. So maybe you're asking, what the heck is a Session 0? Uh, for me, mostly, it's getting everybody on the same page, so there's no surprises. You want to be able to start Session 1, just dive right into it, get into some fun, make sure nobody's bored, set a good pace, keep people's attention. And in Session 0, you're going to prepare yourself for that. You're going to reduce potential conflicts in your early sessions. Not plot conflicts, but conflicts between people's expectations of the game, players and DM. I go in with several objectives, 3 really. First, I want all the players to have a firm grasp of the environment that they're going to be playing in. Basic astronomy, things that players would know about the world on a really big scale. What's religion like? What's the culture like? Are they in a city? Are they in a town? What are the 2 or 3 things that are really different about this setting that I'm going to want to stress and make this a unique campaign. things like the basics of government and culture, the weather. You don't have to get, you shouldn't get into extreme detail. Now, what you might want to do, hand out a booklet. Um, I I say a booklet. Mine's a booklet. Yours can be a couple of pages of notes, so that they can look into more detailed stuff if they want to. Don't go in thinking that your players are as excited about world building or any other particular aspect as you are. Uh, Once again, I'm not going to try to do this video from everybody's perspective. I'm a world builder. I run open world. That's the angle we're going at uh, for this episode and for the series in general. Um, so, the second thing that you want to cover are rules, interpretations, procedures, things that you're going to have to take into account um, as a matter of practice in the game. And there's quite a few. You might not think that there is. You might just think, oh, well, I saw this one or two homebrew things, and this is how we've always done it, and we're done. Think about what you want to do in your opening campaign here, new DM. Uh, you don't have to, that doesn't mean you're never going to change, but just because other people did it doesn't mean you have to. So, what kind of things do I mean? My campaign, uh, right off the bat, banned Goodberry. It completely blasts um, any concept of a survival game. And I didn't go heavy survival, but I went a little bit. I mean, I made sure the players took time to hunt, to fill their stocks for winter. I made sure that it was in the background, but it was there. Um, and what you can do as an aid, do a little Google search, do a little YouTube search. My two favorites, my recommendations would be something like Best Homebrew Rules and Most Banned Spells. And then that'll kind of get you on track to give you things to think about. You don't have to follow people's advice, just something to think about. Um, there are other things. We moved Revivify up a level. The Goodberry was my idea. The Revivify was actually the player's idea. They wanted a real chance of death. Uh, Shield, Silvery Barbs. I didn't do anything with them, but it's worth thinking about. Um, Now, this goes both ways. These things affect the players and the things that they're fighting. Um, if they're going into combat against an Eldritch Knight, you know how's your fighter going to feel about taking a swing on him? And I rolled a 23 with bonuses, of course. He starts calculating damage, and you're just, you missed. It feels bad for him. It's a little satisfying from a DM's point of view. You don't want to have, give everybody the shield spell, but, and that talk about it. It's powerful. It's game changing. It can really make a simple encounter, dramatic or deadly or just a pain in the butt. What you need to establish what your players' difficulty level, what their desire, what their willingness to take abuse is, and hand out abuse for that matter. You need to know what your levels for that are. All right, want to mention it's not really rules based, but you're going to want a basic map. It doesn't have to be a world map. They shouldn't necessarily know the world map, but they're going to know, which direction, the next biggest town might be. They might know the local rivers. They might know the whole kingdom. I mean, if you may very well have people that in your party that have traveled quite a lot before they started their adventuring careers. Other things to talk about: long and short rests are both highly modifiable. This might be something the players want to do. This might be something you want to do. Um, the term grimdark basically means a more dangerous, difficult campaign setting. There are players that like it. It's just Pepsi, I promise. You might want to restrict, long rests to, do you have to have a bed? Do you have to be in an established camp? Is it okay just to lay down in the forest and get a full night's sleep and heal all your wounds on a bed of moss? If that's your thing, that's great. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't want to get too far off rules as written your first time through. There's also a reason maybe just to run 5 to 10 sessions your first time. Go in knowing you're doing that. Commit to it. Stick to it. And then when you start a new campaign, your first real campaign, if you want to do long-term stuff, then you can make modifications based on actual experience and not just YouTube videos. And by then, you will have watched a lot more YouTube videos that you can get experience from too. Wasn't coughing before I started the video. Risk of death. There are players that just abhor the idea that their character might die. My players have tended to be the opposite. And this just in my current campaign. This has been over, many, many decades. Well, okay, many campaigns. They like to be in danger. To know it's a possibility that if they make a mistake, or maybe even just the monster gets lucky, usually a combination of both, that they're going to be rolling up a new character. Now, the higher you go, the less of a chance that is. But at low levels, it doesn't hurt to kill one or two players over the first 5 sessions, depending upon what their tolerance is. You can also destroy a campaign if depending upon expectations. But that's why you talk about it in session 0. Simple stuff. Decide how you're going to do crits and fumbles. I do max damage on crits. It's quick, it's easy, it's satisfying. You can do crunchy crits. That's a lot of damage on a crit. Keep in mind, there's a lot of ways to roll d20s out there, so the more you roll, the more crits there's going to be. I forget who invented crunchy crits. You can Google it, but basically you get your normal damage and add another damage dice. You can do tons and tons of different things. On fumbles, I'll be honest, I ignore fumbles for the most part. The more dice you roll, it penalizes having more attacks. I don't know. And it takes up game time for nothing. But that's up to you. There are certainly fun ways to handle fumbles. Speaking of fumbles and crits, you also need to decide. Rules as written, they do not apply to skill checks, just attack rolls. I stick with this rule, but if you want to, then think about what a crit and or a fumble might mean on at your table. Remember the possibility of players, managing to get a roll on something that's essentially impossible. What happens when they crit? Are you going to let them do the impossible? And it can be some goofy stuff, but we're not going to get into goofy character desires or player desires now. Scrolling right along. If you have good communication with your players, they can set up agenda items to discuss at session 0. This is for them and for you. If they want to play a certain way, maybe you can adapt to them. If they're unified, why not? the earlier you tell them things that you are firm on, the more they can decide whether or not, what characters, how they want to play. If you're definitely nerfing the heck out of Shield, the guy that's thinking about playing Eldritch Knight might not want to now. And that's okay. You let him know in advance before he gets too hooked on the idea, and he can play something else. Um, the last little bit, it's tough advice. It's hard to learn. Um, as a DM, you're presenting an adventure to players. It needs to be something that you want to do. DMing is work, and you've got to enjoy that work, or there's no point in doing it because this is supposed to be a game. Know where your hard lines are, and make sure they know where your hard lines are. Um, the classic example is, the murder hobo, the chaos bringer. Um, those types of players that are they're going to split the party. They're going to demand a lot of their own time. They're going to want to do stuff that causes you consternation. I won't do it. I don't run that kind of campaign. So let your people know up front. They can find another table. There's DMs that don't mind embracing the chaos. I'm sure there's DMs that enjoy it. I've played in some pretty crazy campaigns that, anything went. Last objective is to get the characters 90% ready. There's going to be some adjustments. Some people are going to change their mind. I want to use this sword instead of that axe, or whatever. But that's nothing. You want to get some basics in on backgrounds. If the player has a lot of uh, uh, devotion to their background, then you're going to want to know what's going on, and and see how you're going to feel about meeting their expectations, and playing up to their background, and if it's even something possible in your world. Work with them as much as you can, but don't break your game just because they brought in a 2,000 word essay on all the amazing things their characters have done and want to do. Uh, Once again, you don't want to build around or give one character more attention. Um, Something I did, I wrote up a number of pages that had just little random pieces of contacts and friends and NPCs, and just different things that the players had association, or characters could potentially have association with. And then I passed them around randomly. One guy got inherited a group of friends. Uh, and players or characters should have friends outside the party, right? Especially early on. One was a connection to one of the thieves guilds in town. And thieves guilds aren't just for thieves. And besides, this was probably just somebody that he made friends with, that has taken on the occupation of the underground economy, as I like to call it. Some of them are businesses that they have ties to, just different stuff. And after a few years of playing, these things still come up from time to time. So, Bill, that you hear nightmares about crazy backgrounds, but you want those there. It's the way that you really bind the players emotionally to a campaign setting. But it's a great time for players to talk about party values. This is partially, one extreme or the other. It's not so much about normal characters with different alignments getting along. And I hesitate to even say alignments. I don't use alignments. They're they're great for a basic description to give you somebody an idea, but they can also get you in a lot of trouble. The DMG tries to say this. One of these days they're going to drop alignments. It's going to happen, but they haven't yet. Um, I believe in alignments as a reference for extremes. I mean, demonic, chaotic evil, angelic, lawful good, uh, fey, chaotic good. Um, but nobody agrees on what the alignments of heroes and villains are at a more social degree. Pick anybody out of a movie and start a Facebook fight. Post the picture. What's my alignment? People will groan, but you'll still have lots of people jump in, and it's going to be all over the place for anybody. Uh, people interpret and argue lawful, evil, good, and chaotic all over the map. Um, but as I diverge crazily away from my script, uh, the party needs to be able to get along. If you have a couple, even or worse, one, but a minority of the party that is one extreme. So let's say generally benevolent and wants to get along with people and wants to build social ties, and you have another party, a group of the party that wants to just rain destruction wherever they go. They don't care about making friends. They don't care about being able to ever return to any town they've ever been to. Those two groups, I mean, it's going to be a problem for the players and not just the party. Uh, a paladin that's tied himself to a particular temple in a church in a city. Maybe even has the character even has law enforcement duties, uh, a reputation in town, and then all of a sudden, first session, his new buddies are killing merchants for no reason, or even for reason. I mean, maybe they're robbing them, maybe they're trying to be stealthy about it, but it's hard for those kind of that groups to get along at all. I mean, there's got to be a basis for cooperation in early levels. Later on, as you become more and more friends, you know, you start to realize in a normal setting, maybe my friend's actually evil, and I'm good, and why are we getting along? And well, we argue about stuff, but we're still friends, and that's great. I mean, you can be friends with people with different belief systems. Your character certainly can, just as long as they're not too extreme. To me, kind of the main thing here is social or antisocial. Are you going to be at least part of the party aspiring to being pillars of the society, trying to develop friendships and business ties, and you know, working for the government and not opposed to them? Or are you on the other side? And that doesn't just mean are you part of a thieves guild or something. The thieves guild is highly invested in the success of a city or any settlement. But are you the kind of party? Well, I'm circling back on the same thing. Are you going to be a party that is generally helpful or generally harmful? That's what it comes down to. And as a DM, you got to decide what you want there too. You might not want to run a goody good campaign. You might not want to run a crazy evil campaign. Negotiate, go in with expectations, and communicate them. That's what session 0 is for. That's why we're here. During session 0, you can discuss why your party is adventuring together. There's nothing wrong with meeting in the local inn. You get together at the mead hall, and you all see yourselves staring at the same notice that says, go slay the gnolls in such and such forest, and you decide to go out and do it together, and that gets you started. This is one place that metagaming is 100% a-okay. You're there to have fun together. Make wild assumptions about why everybody is eager to travel together. Now that also means, hopefully, make it easy for yourselves. Nobody's coming up with a character that goes out of his way to not be somebody you want to travel with. Anyway, this isn't a things not to do as a player episode. This is a how to get ready for session 0 episode. So, in setting up the group, know what you want out of it, and communicate. Is it a low magic setting? If so, it's okay to push your players around a little bit to lean toward non-magical characters. If somebody's deciding, do I want to be this or that? Well, then, bump them toward the non-magical side of whichever thing they're trying to figure out. During a regular session, you don't want to pull people away too much and do individual stuff. During session 0, it's not bad because you're helping them generate their characters, their backgrounds, and stuff. When I did mine, I spent quite a bit of time with individual people. And let's face it, they got stuff to do. I mean, if they're actually, most of them are building their character at the time, or at least finishing them out. They're picking spells, they're writing down equipment, they're figuring out the last details. So this is not a normal session. Some DMs treat it that way a little bit. They'll run an opening encounter, or have the players have characters make decisions. I don't, but it's okay if you do. There's a million ways to do any of this. But when I was talking to my individual players, I wanted, what's your goals? What's your aspirations? And I had my setting of aspirations too. I'd ask them what, did you want to come from middle class or upper class, or does your goal set you up? Does your character need to come from lower class? And I'd work with them, give them what they wanted. And if they said they didn't care or wanted to play, a higher class, I'd roll a dice. How high? I knew I wanted one of my players to be from a noble family, just to mix things up. So one of the first players up said, that was something they were interested in. It hasn't harmed the game because it's not a noble family that just does everything for him. But it's a fun dynamic that wouldn't necessarily have happened if you didn't do this type of early collaborative character building. So we're talking about Jimmerit Hidigo. In setting up this campaign, I know I'm going to want one of these Wyvernborns. I'm going to encourage somebody to play one. I've made them fairly good as far as attributes go. So it's not going to be, oh no, I don't want to play that horrible species. And usually you'll get players that'll work with you. I know I'm going to want a Death's Head Dwarf. So, once again, you're almost always going to have somebody that's at least mildly interested in playing a dwarf. They're a good species to play. Don't force them. If it doesn't work out, then you're just going to have to see your dreams, shattered a little bit. You can't force a player into a certain, type of character. It's just a recipe for disaster. So I know all this is kind of vague, and I didn't originally write the script for it to be face-to-face deal, but it just kind of made sense. The point is, when you are moving into session 0, you need to know enough about your game settings to know how to respond to what the players want. If you're going to want a little bit of a history. So if one of your players has a soldier background or any kind of military background, okay, have some idea. You don't have to have the whole thing detailed out. What kind of conflicts were they involved in? If they want a sailor's background, is there an ocean nearby? There certainly is on Jimmerit Hidigo. There's water everywhere. But you might not be running a campaign where there is. So you need to have solutions for that. It might just be that they're foreigners, but that's up to you. Um, Remember, your objective is to let the player play the character that they envision, but also make it fit in your world. Um, and sticking to your principles that you've lined up for the game. Um, it's fine as a starting DM to narrow the field, to weed out things that you don't want to deal with. If you decide, okay, I'm going to stick with the new rules. I'm going to learn the 2024 uh, handbook, player's handbook, and then somebody wants to play a wild magic barbarian. Say no. It's okay. Um, it's a little bit vicious, but it's easy to find more players. There's millions. There's a lot of people around that want to play D&D. The shortage is the DM, not the players. I said that I'm not going to run any encounters, and that's true. But you can definitely set yourself up to be ready to dive into adventure. Uh, and this is part of why your players are together and such. Ask them so you can start planning what kind of things they're going to want to do. Or do they want to be monster hunters? Do they want to crawl through dungeons? Do they want to play a political campaign? Do they want to play a sea focused campaign? Do they want to play a military campaign? Um, some of these are harder than others, but you're going to start slow either way. I mean, your first few sessions, you're going to be doing all kinds of little things, and it's not going to be jump right into the grand themes of the campaign. Uh, and be prepared to have a few options for them. Maybe there's a bug hunt in the sewers possibility. I mean, that's one of my classic starts. Uh, could be something like one of they meet a quest giver and he wants them to gather information on a rival councilman. It could be to scout a group of dwarves who have landed on the island and determine their motives. Could be uh, save a shipwright from the knolls. So both of these are things. These last two especially are things that tie into the Jimmerit Hadigo uh, setting. So you can do that from the beginning, but keep it simple. Um, Now, we just covered two things, right? Gave them possibilities for adventure and asked them what kind of adventures they want to go on. These two things aren't necessarily going to line up because players are chaotic, random, strange creatures. Oh, let's play a political campaign. That sounds like fun. Oh, look, a monster. And there it goes. Uh, and since I do event based, they're going to have that choice. I'm not going to force them not to just, go monster hunting. Um, but as the campaign develops, that's where we can push things, and you can always go back and regroup. Hey, do you guys still want to do this kind of stuff? Because you don't seem to be interested in it now. There's no way that I've covered everything. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. Um, I've been getting a lot of comments lately, and I love it. I've been having to answer stuff almost every morning, and it's a chore that's just wonderful. Um, there's going to be more videos like this. We're going to do preparing for session 1 next. And then we're going to do a preparing for session 2. It's going to be its own video. And then we're going to do a long run video. Prepare for how do you build plot lines and stuff out of your first few sessions. We might do some other stuff. There's a significant city in Jimmerit Hadigo, on Jimmerit Hadigo, that I think I might just do a world building this city episode. But we'll see. As long as you guys stay interested and I don't get too distracted with some other topic I want to cover, we can go for a while. I mean, I'm planning on working with islands and naval campaigns for probably another 6 weeks at least, maybe a couple of months. I might run right up to monsters week with Ginny D and Pointy Hat. And then maybe do some dragon stuff, which is their topic this time around. And after that, maybe then I'll switch out of this island motif, but we'll see. There's plenty of other stuff to do too. I mean, the Monster Manual's coming out soon, and we got at least toy with that, and I've got more DMG stuff I want to mess with. So yeah, plenty of topics for videos. So if you've gotten this deep into the video, you must have got something out of it. Hit the like button. I would appreciate it very much. We've talked about leaving a comment. If you haven't subbed, please do. It makes a tremendous amount of difference. If you've hung into this whole video just because you think I'm an idiot and you've been laughing at me, that's fine too. Go down in the comments. We'll fight about it. Yeah, we'll see who wins. I want to thank you all for stopping by. You've been great for the station. I'm glad I could help a little bit. I'm glad you chose to spend a few minutes with me watching this stuff. I get excited about world building. I love it. I love D&D. I love 5th edition. I'm a fan of the 2024 rule book. We'll tweak here and there, but overall, very positive change. Encourage new players and new DMs. Don't bust on them. It's not worth it. We want this hobby of ours to grow. We don't want to exclude people. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of the day because you deserve it. I'll see you next time. Cheers.